Good afternoon and welcome back to Questioning Sense with me, Matt. I hope you guys are well and everything's going swimmingly in your world. Interesting that I use the word swimmingly. We're going to be doing a quick review this afternoon of a newish fragrance to me. It's one that I've adored from afar, but I now have in my collection, and it's from the luxury house of Electimuss London, and it's a bit of a banger, to be honest. It's a really good fragrance. Now, some of you will remember me speaking about another one from Electimuss a little while back called Gladiator Oud, and this is, you know, that was my first sort of proper taste of the luxury that Electimuss offer. But this one is a release from 2019, and it's called Black Caviar, and I'll show you the box first. Boxes are amazing, and the bottles are just something else. They really are amazing. I mean, this weighs an absolute ton, and it's a 100ml bottle, but it's beautiful. I mean, this was sent to me by the brand, so thank you very much for that. But this is fantastic. This is one that I had a sample of, I think, when it kind of came out, and I enjoyed it a lot. I never really pursued it, and I'm not entirely sure why, because I love this kind of fragrance. And when I say kind of fragrance, this is where things will start to get a bit confusing, because I quite like aquatic fragrances. In fact, it's becoming over time one of my favourite genres of perfume, and I have lots and lots of them. And this is a bit of a conundrum, because it's not 100% an aquatic, it's not a fougere, it's not a classic gentleman's fragrance. It is completely unisex, but it is a bit of a banger, and it's a belter for the summer. So, as I say, this came out in 2019, and for some reason, I'm not entirely sure why, it didn't kind of, I'm not surprised, you know, it didn't take off, but I don't think Electimuss had kind of like the audience that they now enjoy. So I think a lot of people haven't seen it or smelt it or even heard of it. So I feel like I'm doing them a bit of a favour by talking about this one, because it is, for me, a really fantastic perfume. And I think it's an important one for the brand too, because it really shows and channels their commitment to making unique and interesting perfumes. Now, you know, you can release loads of rose ouds, you can release, I don't know, lots of fougères, and you know, whatever happens, if you're putting a rose oud on the market, someone's going to say, oh, it smells like one of the billion other rose ouds that are already out there. You know, every house has a rose oud, some houses just do rose ouds, so it's always difficult to make an impression in the market if you're releasing a rose oud or a rosy oud or an oud with rose in. So these kind of fragrances, like, every house has to have one, I think, to compete. Well, you know, and then to stand out is difficult. You need interesting fragrances, you need perfumes that stay in your mind. So if you go out smelling perfumes for the day, like I do, everybody does, you always end up with like one or two. You've probably smelt 1,000, but there's only one or two that really stick in your mind. And Black Caviar is one that will do that, because it is a sample. It was always rattling around in the back of my head, but I never really managed to take it any further. And now the gods have smiled upon me, and I have a bottle. So that's kind of what we're here to talk about today. Obviously, as you can gather, I am a big fan. So I promise I'll try not to gush too much. But it is really impressive. So what we'll do is we'll go through the notes. Now, the notes are interesting because there's some, you know, weird and wonderful. Well, no, there's one particular weird and wonderful in here. And again, it's more of the description of how the perfume wears than the sum of its notes. When you read out I will do it now actually. So on the top you have caviar, then you have oud, then you have cedar. In the mid you have rosemary, you have lavender, and you have sage. And on the base you have oak moss, you have vetiver and patchouli. Now, nothing too outrageous about that lot, apart from obviously the caviar. So what is a caviar accord? In all honesty, I have no idea. I would imagine to tincture and to get something out of caviar would be nigh on impossible. It's very perishable, and these little soft eggs with salty sort of magic in them. You know, they're delicious to eat if you like them. So I'm assuming to create the caviar, they must have kind of used some kind of ambergris or, I don't know, some modern synthetic ambergris, and done something with it to give this caviar accord, because it is quite noticeable, and it is rather intriguing and really lovely. So I've been also, knowing that I'm going to review this today, I am actually wearing it, but I want to get another spray on just for the opening, because it's, I mean, this bottle and the atomizer, everything is perfect. It's just so different. There's a freshness to it. So this caviar accord, whatever it is they've used to do it, does give a saltiness to it. And this is where you get that kind of salty aquatic vibe. And I think at this point I'm thinking, okay, this is a really nice aquatic. Okay, it's going to be a really sort of dark aquatic kind of fragrance, and it's going to remind me of Megamara, my ultimate aquatic, or maybe Aqua de Sal, or is it going to remind me of Whetstone, or is it going to be and it's never, as soon as you smell that opening, this isn't going to be a soft beachy kind of happy days aquatic at all. It's much more serious. It's darker as things kind of roll through, but when you're focusing on the opening, it's dark, it's moody, but it's clean and it's fresh, and there's almost a slight minty accord cutting through that darkness, and it's really weird. So I'm like, got my reviewer's head on trying to think of analogies, because it's not like Megamara, it's not like the Raging Sea. It's much more mysterious. It's gothic, and that's a weird thing. A gothic aquatic. I mean, has Matt gone mad? No, I haven't. And it's the only word I can think of to give you that sense of darkness, almost sense of foreboding that the smell initiates in your mind. And I'm thinking, how can, what would, because there's greenness in this, there's freshness in this, but there's this wet murkiness. If you go like on holiday when I was a kid, I would spend hours on the beaches of Cornwall actually, which are, quite cool. And it's a very rugged coastline. So when the tide goes out, there's loads of these big, deep rock pools. And I would spend hours as a kid trying to catch crabs, and I don't try and catch crabs now as an adult, and I've just realised how that sounds as I'm talking to you, so let's not go there. But I would spend hours as a kid with these rock pools, just delving into them and stuff. And it's obviously left quite an imprint, because when I smelt that and I've kind of let my mind go and that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a big, dark, like rock pool with the light shining off it and bits of green from the seaweed sort of floating around that, and it's almost kind of like replaced the sage and the lavender and stuff in this, and it's just a beautiful fragrance. The only thing I've realized is I've now got you thinking of fishiness and the sea and stuff like that. And it's not fishy at all, it's salty. There's a massive difference. You don't have fishy salt, but you do get salty perfumes. So, some people I obviously had to read the reviews of this in Fragrantica just to see what I was up against. And there are some nonsense written. This doesn't smell fishy at all. If this smells fishy, then I've got an afro, which I don't have. So it's a salty, fresh, deep, dark, gothic kind of vibe to start off with, but there's lavender here, and then there's sage, and salt often go together incredibly well. We know that. Nothing explains this minty vibe that I'm getting. I really don't know where that's from. And then bizarrely, there's a sweetness that just kind of cuts through it. I can think of it sort of like as a really like a Pontefract cake. Now, if you're in the UK, you'll know what they are. They're these really intense licorice type sweets from the north of England. If you're in America, that's exactly what they are. They're a really rich, thick, intense, slightly sweet, licoricey treat, about yay big. And that's kind of like, you've got that smell sitting in the background. It doesn't over-dominate, so the whole perfume doesn't smell like a sweet shop or a candy shop or anything like that. But there is a subtle sweetness in there that could possibly be aniseed or this sort of Pontefract cake accord, which I'm gonna have to trademark that, I think. And it just gives a sweetness to the perfume. But there's oak moss and there's vetiver and there's patchouli, and vetiver and patchouli, as we know, sit together incredibly well. The moss is very subtle. It's a bit like the oud in the top. The oud isn't skanky. There's no sort of Barney vibe to it at all. There's no feeling of, oh, it's a bit too oudy. The oud is there, I think, just to give depth. And then going back to the rock pool analogy, I've got this deep rock pool, and I think it's the oud that's giving it that depth to go with the salty accord and the woods and stuff like that. So it is really intense, but my God, it's so different. It's nothing like any of the other aquatics I've got, and that is so rare, because I mean, like, I've tried, and I actually, to my shame, well, not to my shame, but I own quite a few of the Lorenzo Pizzaglia C collection, and they all seem to me realistically variations on the theme of Megamara. All right, fair enough, they're all quite interesting and I enjoy wearing them, but they kind of owe their birth to Megamara by Otto Parisi. This doesn't. This is nothing like any of the other aquatics I've tried. So yeah, it's a totally unique and rather wonderful perfume. The other thing that I have to mention is it's textured, and normally when we're talking about fragrances that start off with an aquatic vibe like this does in the top, you expect that to have this sort of fresh, salty, kind of wet kind of texture, and this one doesn't. There is a weird suede-like vibe to it, which is absolutely beautiful. In fact, by saying suede-like, I'm putting a kind of a smell of leather across it, and it's not. There's no leather here. It's I want to say velour, but velour is a velvet, so it's like a velvety type kind of feel to it when you're wearing it. So not only is it a dark, gothic, exciting, sweet, aquatic style fragrance that morphs into this kind of more classic textured perfume, it's utterly mesmerizing. And I want to say that it's masculine, and it is to a degree, it is quite masculine, but this would smell fantastic on a woman. I think absolutely anybody can wear this. It might suit the more, I don't think it's going to be one for the thrusters. I think it's just too sort of foreboding in some respects. It's not a bright, happy perfume. It's a serious fragrance. But I think it's brilliant. I like it for work. So, you know, in terms of where you can wear it, dressed up, perfect, absolutely perfect. It might be a little bit too much for jeans and trainers, but I'm gonna go out on Friday night wearing jeans and trainers and wearing it because that's, you know, I don't really care. I just like the smell of it, so I'll wear it. But, you know, speaking officially as a reviewer, it's one for the black tie. It's a dressed up evening out. It's an awards ceremony. It's probably not a romantic meal. It might be a little bit too strong for that unless your partner really digs it. Sorry if there's a strange noise in the background. My dog is asleep and snoring. But yeah, if you're going out for a meal, it might be a little bit too strong for that. But for me, anyone can wear this over a certain age. I mean, if you're young enough and you're confident enough, then please wear it. Don't listen to anybody telling you you can't wear this, you can't wear that. You can wear whatever you want if you're comfortable. Otherwise, the perfume wears you. You don't wear the perfume. But yeah, if you're up for it, then go for it. But don't be put off by it. I have said a lot this afternoon about this sort of luxurious, dark and foreboding perfume. But you know, that's just my take on it. What you need to take from me is it's a brilliant bloody perfume. That's about as much as I can say about it, I think. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I think it's, you know, if you follow us on Instagram, then please, you know, if you're not, please do. You're going to see photos of it all the time because what I tend to do is just mainly post about what I'm going to wear that day or what I've worn that day. So there's a lot of repetition of perfumes on our Instagram page, and this is going to feature heavily on it because I think it's absolutely outstanding. Beautiful, beautiful perfume. I hope you get to try it. It is quite an expensive fragrance. It's £235 for this 100ml bottle, but that puts it firmly in line and probably a little bit cheaper than the competition, I suppose. So Roger Dove, his Parfum Cologne collection, they are a little bit more than that. Ormond Jane now in the 88ml bottles, so Nawab of Oud would be their equivalent, I guess. That's a little bit more than this. And then the Graham and Pot, you know, I don't think they start under 250 for 50ml. So in that respect, it's actually a bit of a bargain. So yeah, you know, it's a luxury perfume and you actually do really get what you pay for here. I think it's brilliant. So yeah, that's it. I think I've gushed on quite a lot now. Love it. I hope you do too. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. Cheers, thanks, and we shall see you on the next video. So, bye.